Hi everyone, my name is Morgan Goods. Today I'm going to be presenting for you guys, how to become a VRS, a VRI interpreter. What is a VRI or VRS interpreter? So VRS stands for Video Relay Services, and VRI stands for Video Relay Interpreter. So they're both go hand in hand, so it's just the services that you provide, and then the other one is just the interpreter as the actual person doing the actual interpretation that you would need to do. So, what is VRI? VRI stands for Video Remote. Well, some people would say video relay, but it's also video remote interpreting. Is a way to access interpreting services via an internet connection with the participants and the interpreter able to see and hear each other on screen. You can use VRI for in-person or virtual meetings. So it may work just the same as Zoom, Teams, different things like that. So I would definitely say it can be used in many platforms, but it is very accessible when at home. It's easy to work from home. There's many freelance interpreters today that do VRI if they're not under an agency, but we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But I know like some of you guys may have seen or heard about deaf people and things like that. So how many of you know sign language? That's a good question. But it's not always just because you know a little bit or this, that. Please keep in mind that you need to like at least have a high proficiency for both languages, for English and interpreting. So ASL is the language that I'm going to be talking about today because I am fluent in English and ASL. ASL is my second language. English is my first, which is considered my native language. So what are the skills required? High proficiency in both English and the other language. So it can be Spanish. If you're doing another language, you can be French, whatever. But today is ASL for me, which is American Sign Language. Able to accurately turn the message from the source language into the target language without any additions, omissions, or other misleading factors that can alter the message to the speaker. You need to also have cultural knowledge. You need to know about, the hearing community, the hearing culture. You also need to know about the deaf culture. And then you have to figure out how to match those together to create the message that you're trying. But you need to have a cultural knowledge of both. So you have hearing and you have the deaf community. Now, as for me, I am a hard of hearing person that is in both cultures actually, so I'm like it's like mixed it all up and made a big pot of gumbo. So that's another thing. You also need to have ethical behavior. You need to be professional at all times. You also need to be mindful about the regulations. Some things are strong regulations that you need to pay attention to, but you need to be professional and abide by the interpreting codes of conduct and things like that, the RID, professionalism codes of conduct. Now, it doesn't really tell too much it's not really much to say on how to become one. Now, anybody can learn sign language. Anybody can learn American Sign Language at any given day. But you also have to keep in mind that some agencies often offer that you don't need a degree right on the spot. Some do require you to have a certification. You may need a license to do it in certain areas, maybe certain states. It all depends on what company you're trying to go for. But for VRI, it's on-demand and real-time interpreting. So yes, the relay your comments as your communication. However, as times takes to express statements may vary between spoken and sign language. So you want to pause a moment for the interpreter to finish the points to allow questions and comments from that person to have that flow in communication. So it's on demand, it's real time, it's just like I'm talking to you right now. But I mean, in a way, just for example, FaceTime, like many of us use Marco Polo for sign language and things like that. So it's real time. You can see what's happening. You'll send a video back and forth. It's real time. But at the end of the day, it's like a snap of a finger, if I'm saying it like that. But interpreting is not as hard as it seems, but it does vary. It can be different depending on your skill level. So also keep that in mind. Some interpreter agencies that are considered VRS that provide these services are Purple Communications, Sorensen, The Language Doctors, Globo, Interpretex, Sign Language Unlimited, and of course I'm gonna link my PowerPoint presentation so you guys can see all the agencies that offer these services. It's a lot of more out there, but these are the ones that I could just find. 2 of them that I'm very familiar with, so I would definitely look into that. But just keep in mind, you really do need to be mindful of certain agencies' requirements and what they tell you to do. So for example, Purple is VRI. They don't always require a certification or a license or anything like that. They're willing to teach you and build up your skills, but of course you want to have that, that degree or that type of license under your belt, so that way you can interpret it wherever in that particular state, because it varies from any particular state for what you interpret it. Thank you for listening to my presentation.